And thank you all for being here and blessing us with your presence on this really special day for us, and we hope for all of you as well. Of the countless, infinite number of blessings that Master has deemed fit to give me in this life, one of them being Narayani herself, two greatest blessings that have come to me through Narayani in this life. One of them was the opportunity to be with Swami after Narayani and I got married. Because Narayani was with Swami, I got to spend most of the last year of his life with him, which was really a blessing for me. And secondly was to play a tiny little part in this process of this book with her. Not because, I got to participate in a book per se, that I got to share Swami with you all, but because the experience of participating in this book was essentially like living with Swami all over again. So you can say it was twice. I got to live with him when he was in the body, and then for a few months with this book, I got to live with him again, and when he's not in his body, which is very encouraging for me. And I think for all of you, because some of you have met Swami physically in his body, but most of you have not. And in our limited thinking, we think, oh, that was then, he was there, some people met him, oh, they were so blessed, oh, what an opportunity they had. And now us, he's not here. But this was encouraging for me because I felt exactly the same helping with this book as I did when I was in his presence. And that shows us that a saint's not limited at all to his physical body, not limited to space and time, not limited to one period where he was, where some people happened to gaze upon him, some people happened to sit by him, some people happened to brush by his arm. That's not important at all. What's important is, can we live as if we're living with a saint all the time? Can we truly experience life as if Swami Kriyananda was with us all the time? And Narayani's little invitation to me to help with the book helped me kind of re-emphasize that in my life in a way that I haven't had the opportunity to do since Swami passed. So, as I was saying, both of these two experiences were so similar. When we were with Swami, when I first started to interact with him more, and I'd come over either to have a meal or to sit or to have tea with him, when you'd go back, you'd be so tired. You're just not doing anything. You haven't done anything with him. You've just had a very casual conversation, but go back to your room and you just feel so tired. And I'd be like, why am I so tired? I should be, so energized having been with a saint. And as I lived or went to him, started spending more time with him daily, I realized being with Swami required me to always have my attention, my focus, my consciousness as high as I can. And as most of us know, that's not as easy for us to do. We do it in meditation and then it's like, okay, that's over. For the rest of the day, whoop, back down to where I usually am. But then to be with him, there was no back down. And so it took a lot of energy from me. It took a lot of effort. I wasn't thinking about him because his presence naturally lifted you up, but it took effort. And in this book, it took that same kind of effort. What I'm trying to say is there are ways we can be that will have us always living with Swami, that will have us always living with a saint. And that way is to keep our attention, keep our focus as much as we can, high up at the point of between the eyebrows preferably. And in this book, that's what we had to do, because you couldn't get into the book, you couldn't get into experiencing the life with a saint if you're not doing that. You couldn't just sit and be yourself and say, okay, fine, let's see now. Okay, Narayani, let's see, what do you think? Okay, this sentence, let me see if in English there's a better way to, these are little things. Fortunately, my skill at English is a tad bit higher than Narayani's, so it allowed me to kind of wiggle my way into her project. One more of these little things that God gives us an opportunity. I'm sure Narayani in the astral world had said, Shurjo, I'm not going to have that good English in this lifetime, so I'll give you this opportunity to kind of come in, swoop in when the time calls for it. But throughout the book, we just had to have that kind of energy, otherwise the book wouldn't come. Otherwise, we couldn't even see it. Otherwise, we'd hit walls in that process. But the moment the energy was raised, you would flow through it. Things would come. Inspiration would come. The other thing about being with Swami was anybody who ever was with him, even for 3 seconds, would realize that Swami had only one thought primarily in his life that guided every action that he did. Maybe the 2 thoughts. 1, how can I better attune to Master? And 2, how can I better share Master? And as part of this book, we got an experience to have those 2 same thoughts. How can we better attune to Swami? And how can we better share Swami? And being in that flow, it's just amazing. When you're in such a flow, you see, most of you know Swami wrote 150 books and 400 pieces of music and built 8 communities around the world and traveled constantly and lectured constantly and saw people. It's a long list. Even if I lay out the list for you, I get tired. But he was never tired. He never stopped. He never for a moment said, let me put this thought of thinking about Master aside and, let me just lay down for a while and just for a moment, Master can be, on the shelf. Never. But that's what gave him the ability to keep moving. And for us, with this book, it was like that. We'd start in the morning after our morning meditation, and that's it. You don't know where the day went. 10 hours, 12 hours, 13, 14, 15. We've not eaten. We don't even know what is food. Because when you're in that flow, when there's only one thought, how can I attune to something greater than me? And how can I share that which is greater than me with everyone? There's no time. There's no tiredness. There's no, oh no, now this. There's just one great flow, and that flow is what carries you. That flow is what inspires you. That flow is what guides your moment-to-moment decisions, where you don't feel like it's moment-to-moment, but it's one entire eternal now. And that's how you get to live when you are in that frame of mind, when you have one guiding principle in life and not, I also want this, I also need this, I also want to do this, and then this, and this is how I want Swami to be, shared. This is what I think Swami Kriyananda was. All of that has to be put aside and just like, how can I attune better? And how can I share better? The other thing about this book, which was very interesting for both of us, being with Swami, you'd see Swami would come up with projects. That was something Swami was great for. He'd come up with projects that had to be done, sometimes a little wacky and sometimes very practical and essential. But anytime he would come up with a project to do, he'd come up also with the people he wanted them to do it, to fulfill it. And there'd often be people who we knew weren't particularly the right people, It's just like, I don't know, Swami, these guys, they don't get along that well all the time. And Swami very innocently and naively would be like, really? Is that true? As if he has no idea that he's randomly chosen these people. But he always chose people he knew the project is going to help them, either rough out some of their edges or to help take them their next step or to get along or to help overcome some karma. His project was not Ananda needs this or I need this or I think this will be good. His project was tune into an individual, see what's going to work for them, create it, and give them that opportunity to work on their karma, to work their karma out. Now for Narayani and me, this project, we're not, although we're married and we are together and we're well, assimilated as a couple, we both come from very different extremes. I come from the extreme of the head, she comes from the heart. And so when you're looking at a project and you have to manifest something and you have to kind of find ways to share a certain thing, we're coming from really 2 different sides. And in a sense, it was a little bit of, in the beginning when we weren't in the flow I was talking about, it was more like, well, I think this is what, we should say. And Narayani would be like, no, this is not what I want to say at all. This is, so Narayani had already written the first draft, everything about the book, and then we just went kind of sentence by sentence, refining it more in terms of language and in terms of presentation. But as we got deeper into the project, we could see how both our extremes began to move closer and closer and closer and closer into the center, where both head and heart were perfectly manifested. And it was important for both of us to go through that process. In fact, towards the end, we both came up with exactly the same thoughts. Oh, this is how it would be. Sounds like the right way to go. But in the beginning, it was a little bit of, this is my opinion and this is her opinion. And that's how we kind of went about it for a little while. But that's the beauty of anything, not that Swami has given us this project. Swami will give us always projects, whether you call that project marriage, whether you call that project work, whether you call that project driving to work. And then there's one way for us to do it where we're attuned to him. And then there's another way for us to do it where we're just kind of fighting our own way to kind of somehow fulfill that project. Somehow I have to get to office. I'm going to be grumpy. I'm going to complain about the traffic. I'm going to kind of, cut past people. Or I'm going to just let the traffic guide me and flow. Have you ever seen? India is beautiful that way. The traffic has like this kind of cosmic intelligence where it just flows. If you look at it from outside, you'd be like, no way are people not bumping into each other every second. But somehow they aren't bumping into each other. It's a very interesting and fascinating thought, because once you get into a greater flow, then everything flows. But if each individual says, no, there's my flow and there's only my flow, he's going to keep butting up against things. So for us, this project, for Narayani, I'm sure she's gone through much more in that process. But for whatever little part I got to play in it, this project gave me the experience, the understanding that Swami Kriyananda is not dead. Swami Kriyananda never died. Swami Kriyananda never left. But it's up to us whether we invite him, whether we live at the level where he lives, or we live at our level, or we live how we live daily and somehow get by. And so I invite all of you, hopefully through this book, to have that experience. What did it mean to live with a saint? And how can I, in every aspect of my life, bring that lifestyle? How can I, in everything that I do, live with Swami Kriyananda? Many blessings.
I came to India in May 2005, just for a week, to see Swami Kriyananda, because I never had a personal connection with him. So my dad and I came. And the second day of our arrival, we heard the voice that Swamiji wanted to greet us. Us from Spain, that we have never met Swamiji, wanted to greet us. Okay. So he was living in Gurgaon. So my dad and I went, met Swami Kriyananda. We were there for around half an hour, 45 minutes. And then Swami Kriyananda while we were leaving, he said, I would like to invite you out for dinner. What about tomorrow? That was my first time I was really talking to Swamiji. And we said, we will be delighted. Next day, we went to have dinner with Swami Kriyananda. Before even entering into his car, he turns around and he says to me, would you like to come to India and live with us and help the work here? I was shocked. I was from Spain. I had a wonderful life. I had a stable job. I have my family, my friends, very nice salary. I had everything I was hoping for. But I knew that Swami Kriyananda's invitation had a purpose. And that purpose was to change me, to transform me. So I had no doubt, and I say yes. I went back to Spain. I say to all my friends, to Job, my family, my mom, everyone, I'm going to leave Spain and I'm going to move to India. My mom, you are crazy, India, but why? What has happened in this trip in 1 week in India? Now you come back and you want to leave everything behind and move to India alone and single and you don't know English and oh my gosh. Like everyone was freaking out. But I knew I had to follow that invitation. So that was May. In October, actually, by the way, 15th of October, I landed to India and spent 3 months with Swami Kriyananda and with the work that was happening here. Also, that very day, I went to his house because he just wanted to greet me and say, I'm so glad you are here with us. And then he said, I'm writing on a manuscript, on a book of the Bhagavad Gita, and you are very welcome to come every day and read a few pages of the book. By then, I barely spoke English, so most of his conversations with me were in Italian with a little bit of English and a few, Italian, a little phrases of Spanish and a few little bit words in English. So I said, okay, Swamiji, it will be my honor. I'll try to make it work. So I found a way to start going to his house and read every day a few pages of his manuscript. First of all, the Bhagavad Gita, it was a scripture I have never heard of in my life. I didn't know even how to pronounce that name in a language that I barely spoke, but I was invited to read his manuscript. So what I did the next day, I equipped myself with this Spanish-English dictionary, my pen, my notebook, my backpack, and I went to Swami's house to read the Bhagavad Gita. So when I was there, 2 ladies were already there. They were reading the pages, so they handed me the first 10 pages. So I put out my dictionary, my pen, my notebook, the pages, and I started reading, and I thought, oh my God, I won't be able to go through this. I barely understand it. So for the next 5-10 minutes, I will read a word, I will look in my dictionary, so I had to check so many words. 15 minutes after this process, we hear Swami Kriyananda coming down from his bedroom to the living room where the 3 of us were reading his pages. So he saw me there, he sat, he saw my dictionary, my notebook, my pen, and he asked me, what is that for? What is that dictionary for? And I said, well, Swamiji, I don't understand English very well. All these words in Italian, most of it. Well, Swamiji, I don't understand English very well, and I really want to understand your Bhagavad Gita. I don't want to miss any words, so I really need a dictionary. He looked at me very seriously, and he said, don't worry about that. You'll be able to feel it. You won't need a dictionary. His words were a prophecy. After that, to my surprise, I was able to understand the Bhagavad Gita, not word by word, obviously, but paragraph by paragraph. I was able to understand the essence, the concepts. It was like a miracle when really the true understanding didn't come from my mind. It came from an intuitive feeling in my heart. I didn't know how it was happening, but I was understanding it. And in a sense, that's what my whole relationship with Swami Kriyananda was about. To be able to feel what he was trying to teach me. To be able to understand what were the lessons that he was trying to teach me, not from my mind, but from my heart. Many people have asked me, but didn't you ask this to Swamiji? Didn't you ask that? Did he explain you all this? And I said, no. It never even crossed my mind to ask him anything. Even when I became his personal assistant, I knew he wanted for me to develop that intuition, that feeling in my heart where I will understand things by my own. And this is really how a true master teaches you. Many people come here and say, oh, what about, but now master is not in the body anymore, Swamiji is not in the body anymore. Do you think really Swamiji told me many things about my life, all the lessons I needed to learn? Nothing. But he was trusting that I will do my best to understand behind of each of his words, his example, how he treat other people, how he behave. That was an example for me to feel it out. And to understand how Swami, how Yogananda flowed through Swami Kriyananda. I remember one morning, in fact, it was this time during the Bhagavad Gita. I never had good concentration in my life. And I always felt I needed to develop focus. And much more even when I started to meditate. I thought, I really need to learn how to focus my mind. I felt always I was very restless. So one morning, I prayed to Master, Master, please, I know I need to develop focus. I know I won't move forward if I just don't calm my mind. Please help me to develop focus. So that was in the morning. In the afternoon, I went again as my daily practice to go to Swami Kriyananda to keep reading the Bhagavad Gita. So again, 2 people were there. I sat there and I started reading. At that moment, Swamiji again came into the living room where we were reading, and he greeted us, how is everything going? Are you enjoying? Yeah, Swami, very much. So while he was, okay, I will leave you read the pages. So when he was moving to his living room, he was walking to his living room, he turns back and he tells to these 2 ladies, please, don't talk when Anna is here. Anna was my birth name. Don't talk when Anna is here. She needs focus. When Swamiji said focus, even the tone of his voice was different. And I knew that Yoganandaji was answering my prayers through Swamiji. And it became crystal clear to me that Master will help me to become closer to God, to become closer to my highest potential through Swamiji. There was no question in my mind. And those were the signs that we needed to develop. We needed to understand how Master chose Swami Kriyananda to change and to teach us, each one of us. Towards the end of Swami Kriyananda's life, even though his mind was very sharp, his energy was very strong, his energy was really high, it was really amazing, but his body was very fragile. Sometimes he would lose balance, other times he was not able to walk properly, so certainly, I had to be there for the 24 hours, helping with many, many other basic needs. One of them was trimming his beard. So every 2-3 weeks, he would say, Narayani, time to cut my beard. So I will go with my trimming with the machine. One morning, I was, as many other mornings, trimming his beard. I was thinking in my own world, and I don't know, he was probably tuning into something else, so I was trimming his beard. And at some point, he take my wrist like this, while the machine is zzz, not the trimming machine, and he asked me, are you going to write a book about me? And I only answered, Swamiji, I don't know. You know how my English it is. I don't think I'll be able to. I don't think I will be able to manage. He was looking at me with such a profound, focused energy that I knew he wasn't just suggesting something. He was really asking me for something. And then I said, well, Swamiji, I don't know, my English is not very good. And as if he really didn't hear anything of what I was saying, he replied, is it going to be a biography or a reminiscences of my life? Then I got it. Then I understood. He was asking something of me. And I said, well, Swamiji, in that case, if I ever write something about you, probably will be reminiscences because it will be easier for me. And then again I said, but Swamiji, you know my limitations. You know that my English is not that good. And he said, don't worry, I'll help you. 3 weeks after, he passed away. He left his body. He didn't tell me when I had to write the book. He didn't tell me how. He didn't tell me from where he's going to help me. I had to feel it out. I had to tune into when that will happen and how on earth is that going to happen. How he's going to find the ways to help me. Because to write a book, Swamiji, believe me, it has not been easy. Because I really wanted to make justice of his greatness. And here I am. I came at the end of his life. I don't have really high studies. I didn't go to college. And here he is asking me to write about one of the greatest saints in this age. But I had to do it. It was for my good. And I could only say, yes, I'll do it. And of course, he has given me that help through Shurjo and through many other people that have come into the book. I mean, the designer, many other things. And this book has come as reality. I hope that this book really touches your heart in the way Swamiji touched mine. And I'm sure he's going to do that. And he will find his ways, and you will find your own way how to attune yourself. You will feel it out. So I thank you from my heart, from being here, from supporting this project, because to me, this book represents an act of gratitude for everything he has done and he is doing for each one of us. And thank you, Swamiji. God bless you all. Thank you. So before we do the book launch, the official book launch, I also would like to invite with me today someone very, very special that when I came to India 12 years ago, I had an instant connection. I felt he was my friend since day one. Doesn't matter age, gender, anything. I just felt he was always there for me, even though he didn't understand me well. Perhaps I didn't understand him well. But that was the beauty of Swamiji and how he helped us to develop those friendships. And that person is Beth. Please, I would like to be with me when we do this. He has been so loyal to Swamiji since day one. So I wanted for him to be with me this day.
Let's all please stand as we offer the light that is within each of us to the great light that we aspire to be.